that Northwest. For the good old days. Back when we was going to the Memorial Coliseum, and then they went to the Rose Garden, and then they brought something new in town.
Hello, welcome back. It is episode 10 of Sports Talk Mostly podcast. And if you haven't already, please take a second, head over to the website, sportstalkmostlypodcast.com. Hit the subscribe tab and get yourself signed up. It's only $10 a month, and what you'll get for that $10 a month is, number one, a secret segment video, which is 10 random questions with every single interview guest. That is obviously not a part of the podcast episode. It's a separate segment. You have to subscribe to get access to it. It is for subscribers only. And the second thing that you'll get for that $10 is early access to every single episode. They will all be published there first. And subscribers will get first listen. So kind of trying to find my way to, say thanks for listening and give you guys some little sneak peeks and hidden segments that are not in the regular episode. So if you're listening and if you're watching and if you're interested, please go check that out. Because I think you guys will really like it. So this episode is going to be a little bit on the shorter side. Obviously, we're still kind of snowballing into all these different things going on to talk about. So I guess that was kind of my only real announcement. So we'll just get right into the episode. Starting with news. The MLB has announced a July 1st return to camp tentative expectation, and there are talks of a 60-game season. So my thoughts with that are, number one, will players show? And number two, how safe is it? Obviously, we're seeing a lot of players, and this is just like sports in general, not to a specific league. But NBA players, there have been some college football players that have tested positive, like quite a big handful of them. So I am just very concerned for the health and safety of these MLB players. And I just hope the MLB takes it seriously. We have, if you haven't figured it out yet already, we have Trace Loehr in the interview segment today. So he's going to touch just briefly on kind of what the player's perspective is on all of that. It's kind of a lot going on, so there's a lot more I could say about that, but I definitely kind of want to keep the subject matter limited to the interview. So if you're that kind of listener, feel free to skip ahead and go check out the interview. But if you're not, we'll get there. So if you're going to stick around and enjoy the rest of the episode before the interview, thank you. I appreciate that. But do know that there's a little bit more player insight from Trace in the interview for the episode today. So like I said, not to get too deep on that. Moving on to the NBA, obviously the season restart schedule was released. Starting July 30th, there are 2 games. We have Jazz versus Pelicans and Lakers versus Clippers. Obviously, I am back on my whole Lakers versus Clippers rant from earlier in the season and earlier in the show. I think episode 2 or 3, maybe 3 or 4. You hear a lot of talk from me about that. So at the end of the episode, I'll give you my predictions on those 2 games. And obviously my beloved Blazers see Ja Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies on Friday, July 31st, which is the second day of NBA restart. Personally, and you guys are probably going to be a little bit surprised to hear this, but I am most excited actually for the Raptors versus Bucks. Obviously defending champs Raptors versus Giannis and the Bucks. That goes down on August 10th. So it's about a week and a half, couple weeks from now. So we'll we'll definitely be watching the developments of the games prior for those two teams. I just think this whole NBA restart is so tumultuous. There's so many positives and so many negatives to both sides of it. I am just, again, so nervous for the players' health and safety and well-being. There's a lot to digest and a lot to take in with all that's going on. Another note for NBA restart is playoffs will begin August 17th. So obviously we have games all the way up until I think August 15th is when the last regular season games are played. And then we move into playoffs. So it will definitely be really interesting to see how things shake out, where people end up, how people perform after so much time off and such a weird time frame of things. I mean, this time normally, obviously, we have an NBA champion by now. It's like so weird. So weird. I just actually kind of realized that the NBA season may be fully over by now. So guys, I really mentally, it's definitely a different timeline of things, so it will be curious to see who performs and who is kind of out in left field. But like I said, this episode is going to be a little bit quicker than normal. Just moving on really quick. I have to talk about this. I am a lifelong watcher, not necessarily by choice, but both my biological dad and my stepdad were big NASCAR fans. I'm sure you guys now know what I'm about to say, but all of this Bubba Wallace news has definitely been on my mind and has caught my attention for sure. My personal take on it is I am very proud of NASCAR's swift response to dealing not only with the news found in Bubba's garage, but also there was a driver that used some really foul racial slurs at one point during the Black Lives Matter momentum, and they immediately fired him. And, for a sport that definitely caters to a pretty specific audience, it's really nice and honestly refreshing to see their swift response to it. And frankly, I am not here for really anybody's comments or opinions on Bubba or whether or not you think that was a hoax or not. I think the important thing here is how he was uplifted and how the NASCAR community dealt with it. It's definitely indicative of a lot of change in that community. And like I said, as somebody who's grown up watching that sport and understanding a lot of the stereotypes, I guess you can say, that revolve around that sports just kind of demographic target audience, it was a really good positive response, I think, and I think NASCAR did the right thing. I think they're making the right moves, and I think they only have the future in mind, which is great. They are now flying the pride flag at all of their tracks, so definitely a lot of inclusivity there, and I think that's only great moves from them. So last thing I want to say as far as news goes was in regards to UFC Fight Night. Obviously, the Poirier defeated Hooker in a unanimous decision. I regrettably, personally, did not catch the fight live, but I heard it was one of the best fights in the last couple of years. So I saw some clips, definitely some hard punches by both guys, some really killer combinations of landing some hits on both guys, and from what I saw in the highlights, just a great fight in general. So definitely gonna be fun to continue to catch some UFC fights. Obviously, we've got COVID closures and regulations popping back up throughout the nation. So I'm sure that it's still going to be quite a bit of time before we get to see a fight, let alone a sporting event in general, with a live audience. So definitely have to get used to kind of the echoey sounds of the empty arenas that these guys are performing in, but thankful for the entertainment nonetheless. So like I said, unfortunately, really quick news segment, but I hope you guys I hope you guys enjoy this interview with Trace Loehr, professional baseball player, and stick around after the interview for the quick culture segment. Have a couple of topics to top. Jeez, I cannot talk today. Have a couple of topics to stop on at the end of the episode. So definitely, like I said, after the interview, stick around for that. It'll be really quick, I promise, but here's the interview with Trace, so enjoy it. And as always, thanks for listening. Awesome. I'm so excited to interview you. We've been talking about this for a long time. So welcome to episode 10. Obviously, you guys have been here for a minute listening to the news portion of the episode, but I have my wonderful interview guest, Trace Loehr, and I'm so excited to have you on. Like I said, thank you so much for coming. I guess we'll get right into it. I don't really want to waste any time.
Okay.
I know you're pretty straightforward and to the point like me, so no reason to beat around the bush here.
Yeah, none of that.
So you were drafted in 2014, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So what was it like being a part of the MLB draft? And if you could relive one moment, which would it be?
Well, the process definitely was tough because, you start getting all these scouts coming to your house during the off season and stuff, and they start talking about the draft and where they think you'll line up with everybody. Then you go through the season, and then you have to pretty much put all this pressure on yourself to perform. Because for me, I didn't really want to go to college. I hate school. Yeah. So I was like, Oregon State, I would love to go there to play baseball, but the school part is a no-go for me.
Right.
So definitely, you're having scouts at every single game, so you have to perform, and you have to make sure that you're on your P's and Q's with all that. So that was definitely a process. I was supposed to go in the first 2 rounds, the first 2-3 rounds, and then there was a signability problem the year before with a guy, so that reflected on me. So then I kind of went later in the draft than I expected to go, so that was pretty stressful.
Right.
But I guess one thing that I like to go back to, would just be after games, scouts would just want me to hit on the field after the game just so they could just watch my batting practice. And, when you have 20, 25 scouts at every single game watching that, it's something that you'll just always remember. So I wish I could go back to that.
Yeah. And what is that interaction like with the scouts when they're watching you? Is there a lot of dialogue, or are they just pretty much watching you do your thing? Are they giving you advice on, things they'd like to see, or how does that work?
Well, yeah. So there's a lot of scouts. I think there's 5 scouts kind of in order. And the guys that first start to watch you are called area scouts, and they're pretty much there just to kind of find the talent, and then they're supposed to tell the higher up scouts about you. So usually when it came to just hitting on the field, you'd have a lot of the area scouts there, and they'd be videoing you just so they could set it into their guys. And then occasionally you'd have some higher up scouts and whatnot. There's always a lot of dialogue, and especially in the Northwest, the scouts here really make it a thing to really get to know the players and their families and stuff. So it's very familiar when it comes to the actual process of getting drafted.
That's cool. I think a lot of people, baseball fans in general, just think of the scouting process as being watched at games. I think a lot of people really overlook the fact that there's a lot more to it, and there's a little bit more personal side, like you're saying, to really learning about what makes a player tick and how they fit in with a clubhouse and things like that. Because all those personality aspects, all the way from ownership to management and coaching, it all is part of
it. It all reflects on their organization. It all reflects on their organization, and certain teams are going to hire different type of personalities that fit their their aura of their organization and whatnot. So you kind of start to get a grasp of teams that you'll be more comfortable getting drafted by, or I'm not too comfortable with them, and that's kind of how that goes.
Yeah, yeah. Throughout the scouting process, did you ever get taken different places or different areas by teams? Like, do they ever, fly you to a specific
Oh
region?
yeah.
What
hmm
is
So
that? What's that all?
So pretty much, so in 2013, so I graduated in 2014, obviously. So 2013 summer is pretty much just the summer circuit. So you have all the USA baseball events, you have perfect game, like all American games, the area codes, all that type of stuff, just to
Mm-hmm.
pretty much get your name out there and just perform against the best high school players in the country.
Right.
Luckily for me, that year I made it on the USA team, the 18U team. So we went to Taiwan and played. We won a world championship there.
Wow.
Um, yeah, it was a big deal. It was really cool. So I mean, yeah, it's just there's a lot that goes into that. I mean, there's a lot of teams that will invite you to random tournaments, just like all over the country, because
Yeah.
they're recruiting too, and it's all bragging rights for them too to go to these tournaments and say we're the best team in the country or type stuff like that. So yeah,
Right.
a lot of teams will hit you up and try to get you on their squad.
Yeah, yeah. So on that note, out of any place that you have had the opportunity to play baseball in, what's been your favorite or a few of your favorites, and what did you get out of those places, and why were you drawn to them?
Well, I played summer ball in 2013 in New York, so we did a lot of different tournaments on the East Coast and stuff. So it was cool just to kind of get to learn the Northeast culture, just how everything. I mean, you can go travel there for a vacation, but you don't really start to understand how people live and what their morals are unless you actually live there for a little bit. So I think that was definitely cool. And
Definitely.
then
And coasters are way than West Coasters too.
way different. Yeah. And then also just that USA team, being able to play with 20 of or 19 of the other best guys in the country and fight to pretty much win a world championship for your country is it's a huge honor.
Yeah, you're representing the entire country, like you said. That's 20 guys that you. I mean, how many guys would kill to be a part of that? That's so cool.
Lot.
And then also another amazing thing. In 2018, you were named an All-Star for.
Yes.
Trust me, I'm gonna stumble over this. You're gonna laugh. Beloit?
Beloit, Wisconsin. Shout out to my people in Beloit, but it is one of the worst stadiums in America.
Oh,
it is so bad. It's it's essentially like a high school field, and we got to play professional baseball on. So the grass is all uneven, the dirt's all messed up. It's just it's kind of like, have you been to Salem Kaiser at the Volcano games at all?
Oh, absolutely.
So you know how the players, they have to walk up the stairs to go into their clubhouse, right?
Yep.
It's pretty much the same thing there. You have to walk through a big ass group of people. You have people asking for autograph stuff, so you got to go through all that, and
so
maybe
funny.
you might get 20 people a game.
Yeah, I remember the first time I ever went to the Salem Kaiser stadium, and I was like, what? Wait, what?
Yeah. So imagine that stadium, and then take about 3 points away from that. So that's Beloit. So even worse.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh man. So to go kind of a different direction, for those listeners who caught the secret segment with you, there was a question that kind of made you be like, there's a lot I want to say right now.
Yeah.
And as we know, the 2020 season has become somewhat of a mess, if we're being honest.
Yeah, for every sport. Sheesh.
With regard to, your stance and the fact that you're involved, what's your take on everything that's happening, and how have the cancellations affected you specifically with your training and your readiness to play?
Well, huge. This was a big year for me. I mean, coming off of 2 really strong years, and I built off of every single year, so I was really focused I was really focused on this past off season to really, put together even better season and hopefully get re-signed in the off season.
Yeah.
So definitely it sucked. I've still been able to put in my work and, lift and work out and whatnot. So I guess, today we found out that they are going to have a major league season this year. It's going to be 60 games. So pretty much just waiting to see if I'll be on the taxi squad for that. So they're going to have a team in Stockton that's just kind of there in case, guys get hurt. So we're just going to have to wait and see what's going on with that. So there's not really much to say.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of weird to think. I haven't really heard of where they're even going to have games or practices or what they're going to do with that. And it's just kind of weird because, you see China is going through their second phase and we're still going through our first one. So it's just kind of
we're like
weird.
Going through our first one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up because it's definitely, I mean, the approach with like NBA versus MLB, for example, as far as laying out a plan or at least discussing millings of a plan with the public has been way more transparent on the NBA side than the MLB side.
Yeah.
To your point, like there hasn't even been any discussion of, are you guys going to go back to Florida and Arizona or like where is all this going to take place? You know what I mean? Like you said. So I guess I'll be the one to say it. They're kind of asking a lot of players without giving a lot in exchange. You know what I mean? And it definitely.
And that's been the problem. That's been the problem is that there hasn't been that much transparency for any of us to even know what's going on. And that's kind of the toughest part is this whole time, they've been trying to figure out, how much money is going to be, spent or paid to the players. And we don't even, we never had an opportunity to even know, like, okay, well, now we just have a week till spring training. So we were supposed to be ready. But I mean, a lot of guys, it's hard for them to continuously just keep working for something that you don't know what's going on. There's no timetable to it. Yeah. So guys get burnt out. So we'll have to see.
Ball has to, it has to be approaching. You know what I mean? Because, you hit a mental wall in the season. Like, of course, you're not going to hit a mental wall when you have this situation that's essentially up in the air every single week. And, your livelihood, your mental state, your busyness and, what you do with your time is all dependent upon what's happening in this. And as far as obviously mental health goes, it's definitely so peculiar in my opinion.
Well, hey, we're just pawns. We're just pawns in the big old business. So, that's what us players have to start to realize, and what you will realize if you do, play professional sport is you really don't matter unless you are, a top tier guy. Other than that, you're very replaceable. So.
Yeah. Well, I've definitely seen, I'm sure others have seen, you're posting pictures and videos of your batting practice and like you said, things like that. So, definitely as far as like a sports fan and not a podcast interviewer, like stay with it, stay positive, stay on top of it. You know what I mean? Because for us fans, you guys are most important. Like we don't have those sports that we love if you guys aren't out there doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if that includes you guys getting sick, if that includes you guys walking away because you're not being treated well, all of those things matter. You know what I mean? So from a fan standpoint, please keep taking care of yourself and doing what you do to
appreciate that.
Space. Yeah, definitely.
And another thing I'd like to mention too is just because, baseball players recently, because of just, the owners not wanting, to pay us, and it should be, you guys should be happy to go out there and play and like you're making so much money anyways. But that's true. But then again, I just signed for a $2 million contract and I just bought a fat mansion in Miami. So,
and I got
how am I going to pay for that? And people don't understand that we're employees too, just like you guys. Just because guys play on TV or make more money than you does not diminish the fact that we're still human beings and we're still trying to provide for our family. So if you're going to take away money and then try to take away some more money and you want us to go play during a pandemic, that'd be like me telling you if you were to work at Walmart, well, we're going to take away part of your salary and then come about 2 weeks later and go, we're going to take some more, but you're going to have to make sure that you come in and you put in all the same work that you've been putting in. So are you going to do that?
By the way.
Yeah.
Not cool. Just on a morale standpoint. It's
Yeah. No.
How are you okay with doing this to people?
Yeah. I don't know.
You know,
It's monopoly.
yeah, exactly. So in including NBA players, I mean, we just had breaking news today of Nikola Jokic testing positive, and he's all the way in Serbia. You know what I mean? So then you want to go 4 weeks from now, supposedly, bring this man through whatever traveling he has to go through to get here, and then put him in a state where coronavirus cases are not only exploding, but extremely deadly. What?
Well, my thing is, I have they decided if they're gonna really do it in Orlando? Is that like affirmative?
Yeah.
Because okay, yeah, that's smart. Let's put a $1 billion company, multi-billion-dollar company, into a state that has the worst cases damn near, and it's still exploding. So let's put them in Florida. That seems like a great idea. Oh, but then again, you can't leave. You can't leave and go see your families. But you know who can? All the employees that are working, and they get to bring all that shit in. Yeah, it makes so much sense.
Not well thought out at all. You know what I mean?
At all.
And then, like I said, we have a start date that's supposed to be 4 weeks from now, and a player testing positive who's supposed to undergo by all essential guidelines to a 14-day quarantine. And then you want him to come out of 14-day quarantine and go immediately to the United States. It just is like so stupid. Yeah. And if you want them to take that risk, then you go take that risk. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I feel.
So
100%. A little bit more on a positive note.
Yeah, let's get to a positive note.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about.
Sheesh.
Because we're both Oregon kids, obviously you're one of only a large handful of guys out of the state of Oregon to get an opportunity to play professional baseball. Talk a little bit about the camaraderie of guys that come from the same area, and how the diversity in the league, kind of, I guess, infiltrates that camaraderie in a positive way.
Well, definitely, like you nailed the hammer on the head on that one. Is yeah, there's not too many professional guys in the area. So when you do come across guys, it's always like you pretty much know everybody. And you guys go out to dinner, you guys hang out on the field for a little bit, and it's always usually positive and just trying to keep guys going and talk about family and whatnot. Definitely for me, there's been a couple guys that I've grown up with that are in different organizations now. So it's always fun to just kind of follow their careers and be like, remember when we were little kids and now we're here type of stuff. So that's always fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then on the back end of that question, how have other people from, other areas, you have guys from Cuba, the Dominican Republic, all over the place. How have those guys helped kind of elevate the local relationships that you have, but also add an element of diversity to the things that you know about and learn about and hear about?
Definitely especially those guys from the Latin countries, you just start to kind of pick up on language a little bit. So you'll be talking around in Portland and you'll be using your little bit of Spanglish with some guys. And it's funny because, there's so much just random, Spanish that they teach you about baseball that nobody else would have any understanding unless you were actually a Spanish speaker.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Can you name, obviously without playing favorites, name a couple of your favorite guys that you didn't know before you got in the league that you've become closer to? Are there a couple guys that that really
one of my roommates, Jordan DiVincenzi, he went to Nevada and played. He's from Tracy, California, and then I guess we'll switch it over, and I'll go to one of my favorite Puerto Rican homies, Edwin Diaz. He's an infielder. Okay. So those are my two favorite guys, that I met that I've grown close to. I was drafted in 2014, and Edwin got signed in 2013. So him and I played from the AZL pretty much all the way to AAA together. Wow. So we've been going through the whole process. So yeah.
And that's always nice because when you find that person who obviously you just met them, but you have so much similarities in your story and your game and your overall journey, you know what I mean, that you kind of just, it's actually more beneficial to connect with them and kind of go through it with them, because then you're a source for each other. So that's awesome. To close it out on just the big stuff, I guess, so to speak, you have had a couple of big performances throughout your career, including a 4 RBI night in 2018. What is one career highlight or milestone that stands out the most to you?
Definitely my walk-off home run last year in AAA.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
It was it's first at bat in AAA. So they pinch ran me in the 9th, and then we somehow came around and we were down by 2 runs. I think we're down by seven to 8 or something like that. Yeah, and then I got up in the bottom of the 10th and hit a walk-off 3-run home run to end the game. And that was my first at-bat ever in AAA, so that was definitely my first.
Well, that's a good impression, shit.
Yeah, and another thing, too, I didn't know it's because it used to be the Las Vegas 51s, and then last year was the inaugural season for the Las Vegas Aviators. Okay. So it was their first walk-off home run in their history. So I'm going to have a bobblehead one day. So
oh, my God.
I'm liking that one.
That's so cool.
I know.
That is definitely a story that you're going to be telling for, like, generations. Like, you're going to sit around the table with, like, your grandkids and your great-grandkids and be like, now, there was the one time.
There was just one time. And here's a bobblehead to show you.
Happiest I was ever in life.
Right. What did you kids do? They're like, Grandpa, we're 8.
Yeah, tell me the coolest thing you've ever done.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, like I said, I wanted to end it on like an uber positive note. Super quick interview. Definitely like super grateful that you were able to take the time to come on. And I mean, if things get going and if there's ever anything that comes to mind you want to jump on and talk about, just let me know. You always have a platform here. I know you've been really vocal. A lot of people won't have you on Facebook, but I do. And I know you've been really vocal on Facebook about Black Lives Matter. And obviously that's something that's really important to me. So I just, just want to say thanks for standing on the right side in that fight. And, obviously being in the league that you are, you can't really deny, the truths of the racism in our society.
And it's all pretty home to me because one of my best friends was shot and killed by the police when I was in 2016. So it's all it's definitely a huge thing in my world. So people just I wish would just kind of just understand that it's not about you. It's about a different race that's been going through it for 400 plus years.
Right.
And I wish people would just kind of sit back and rationalize the situation a little bit more. But it's America, so systematically a lot of motherfuckers are just stupid.
Yeah, they have.
And I stand by that.
Really bad and hateful habits. I agree. And it's not born, it's taught. So like I said, I just definitely wanted to stop and take a second and draw attention to the fact that you are absolutely a part of that conversation, because I think it's really important that everybody knows where everybody else stands. So thanks again for being on the right side with that. And I appreciate you and your time, and I hope that you continue to make the best of things this season, and hopefully we'll get to see you swing some bats.
Yeah, me too. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Trace.
All right.
Alrighty, right. That was such a good interview. Love Trace. Have been talking to him about coming on the show for a while, so definitely thank you to him. Make sure you guys keep your eye out for him in case he gets on the taxi squad in an MLB restart. And like I said, thank you, Trace, for your time and for coming on. As I said, just briefly before the interview, have a couple of culture topics to hit on, and then episode 10 will be over. So, obviously I'm a big Blazers fan, and this is kind of one of the things that I always refer back to in the it's more than basketball, more than a game topic. But obviously he was recently acquired by the Blazers, only literally just a month or so before the league shut down. But Trevor Ariza has chosen to sit out from the league restart for child custody opportunity. And he joins Wilson Chandler, Davis Bertrands, Avery Bradley, and Willie Cauley-Stein, who have turned in their opt-out, so to speak, for the league restart. But Trevor Ariza is doing so for reasons outside of COVID concerns. He has been given a 1-month block of custody from his child's mother. His child is 12, and he's chosen to take that custody block, which this is the right move. We've seen this from a few players in the past, and I fully support Trevor Ariza on this. Obviously, I keep saying it, but I'm a Blazers fan, and I was so excited just to see Ariza as a veteran playing with Melo as two guys who kind of were having some rocky times with their teams that they had been on previously to the Blazers, but I loved their veteran presence with the Blazers. So with Ariza specifically, it is a bummer that he's not going to be a part of the restart, but as a fan of these guys personally, and as somebody who supports them not just as athletes but as men and role models, the first thing they are is role models to their families and their kids. So just in my opinion, I think this is a good move. I fully support Trevor Ariza. Frankly, I fully support any guy choosing to sit out. I think that their bodies and their health and their peace of mind comes first, and they make the dollars to choose to be able to say, no, I can live without my paycheck right now for whatever reason. So like I said, I fully support that. And switching gears to my other topic that is actually kind of relevant to the previous topic with Trevor Ariza is Shanae Ogwumike and Kristi Tolliver of the LA Sparks, obviously in the WNBA, have both chosen to sit out as well for the WNBA season that is being talked of for this year. Obviously, their season start date would be at a later date than it usually is because of COVID closures and cancellations. But Tolliver is also an assistant coach for the Washington Wizards. And since she has chosen to sit out of the WNBA season, it still is actually unclear whether or not she'll be joining the Washington Wizards for their restart in Orlando. But I'm going to assume she's not going to be a part of that. I just can't foresee why she would choose to give up her own playing opportunity, but then still attend her coaching opportunity. I have not heard specifics on why Tolliver is choosing to sit out other than COVID concerns, and that kind of leads me to believe that she will not be joining the Washington Wizards in Orlando either. So that's just the way that I see it. Obviously, I could be wrong, but on the other side of that coin, Shanae is sitting out for injury reasons. So again, kind of like Trevor Ariza, Shanae Ogwumike has chosen to do something that is for the betterment of herself. Obviously, it's different than a child custody block of time, but Shanae Ogwumike has actually missed 2 full seasons in the past 5 years for injury. And I think that this is just one of those moves where she realizes that this season is going to be really different in general. And so rather than enduring the topsy-turviness of an untold season, I think she's just kind of choosing to focus her time and her energy on getting healthy for a 2021-2022 season. So, again, I support all this. I don't want to really hem and haw on the topic too much, just because I think that, like I said, these players, they obviously are in charge of their own coin. They watch their own wallet, their own bankroll, and if they can, if they have chosen that they can afford to sit out for whatever reason, I think that's their prerogative. And again, at the end of the day, I support the individual athlete's decision over the greater good of a league, a multi-billion-dollar league. So that's my take on it. Again, just a couple quick culture topics. Don't want to tug on your guys' ear for too much longer. But like I said at the beginning of the episode, please, if you haven't already, go subscribe to the podcast Patreon so that you can be included in early release of episodes and secret segments. So we have a secret segment from the episode 9 guest, Knits. And we also have a secret segment with Trace Loehr, as well as an upcoming secret segment from our episode 11 guest. And that secret segment for episode 11 has already been filmed, so it is coming soon. So, like I said, if you haven't already, please go subscribe. It would greatly support the show's long-term presence, I guess I can say. And like I say, always, thank you guys so much for listening, and thank you guys so much for your general support. Appreciate you all. Just wanted to say that little tidbit. So thanks again for listening, you guys, and we'll see you next episode.
Got that West Coast wave, fuck around and catch a West Coast fade. We go up, post up. Both teams played hard.